Hi guys, and welcome to today's blog hop, because this is the Little Blue Button Stamps blog hop. If you are watching this on YouTube, then you should hop on over to my blog after you watch this video and join in with this blog hop. You can win prizes from Quick Creations, I Am Roses, Diamond Dice, Precious Remembrance, and Little Blue Button Stamps. This image is a Little Blue Button Stamps. It's a digital stamp which is called Dread Girl, and I think she's lovely. And as this blog hop has the theme of love, I thought she would be perfect, so that is why I'm coloring her. I have printed her out on some Neenah cardstock and Neenah Solar White, because I'm also going to use some of my Faber-Castell Polychromos pencils to color her in on top of my Copics. I use Neenah when I want to use my pencils, or when I have like small characters. The small characters just because I always have Neenah laying in front of me, while my Make It Crafted paper have a tendency to be put where my printer is, as it's my paper of choice for when I do pure Copic coloring. Big difference between Neenah and Make It Crafted paper is that Make It Crafted paper you can get a lot of very thin lines and details, and due to the kind of composition of Neenah, you don't get as much details. However, the Make It Crafted paper is very slick, and the Neenah have a little bit of a tooth, and it's that tooth I'm after when I'm working with my color pencils, whether it's my Polychromos or my Prismas. I like using the Neenah for both, and one also reason is that the Neenah goes through my printer, so I can use all my digital images and my pencils. The Make It Crafted also go through my printer, so that's very good for my Copic only images that I do. Now to the coloring. I'm doing her dreads, and when I'm doing her dreads, I'm doing a lot of squiggly lines. I'm not really worrying about blending very hard. I'm just doing squiggly lines, kind of building up towards my highlights. And the reason for that is because then you get the illusion of dreads, because dreads are usually kind of squiggly. They are. For the rest of her, I'm coloring her in red. I'm using some R20s together with some R30s to make a red that would kind of work together with the pattern paper that I've chosen. The pattern paper is a red paper with golden foiled hearts, which I really love. It's a pattern paper from a Simon Says Stamp kit that I got last year. I just love it. Yeah, I kind of like having kits like that because I use them all year round for all of my projects. But yes, for the colors, like I said, I'm using the R37, and then I'm using R24, 22 and 21. I'm trying to get a good blend on her body, and trying to get a movement in those, don't know what you call them, friggly things on her top. I'm not worrying really much about the blending, as I'm working with my Polychromos on top of everything. When I work with Polychromos, I usually go first and do the highlights, which I didn't do with this pencil, but almost. Because when you do highlights, you usually, if you look at your pens, you don't have that many pencils that are very light. Instead, you have a lot of different pencils, from darker shades up to mid shades. For the light shades, you actually want to kind of blend the highlights out, And I don't really worry when I do these kind of things. I don't worry to get that smooth texture. I kind of like having the pencil lines in it, but if I wanted to have a perfect smooth thingy, I would probably either blend a lot more, or I would use some kind of less mineral solution on top of it. But here you see I did all my highlights, and then I'm actually going over with my lightest choice of skin color on top of my highlights, because I did the highlights in a cream color, but by going over with that pinkish flesh color, I would actually get more of a yellowish pink with a much lighter pink. So that is how I did that. For the hair, I'm actually using a light warm gray for the highlights. For the darkest part, I'm using the black pencil, and I'm using it very sparingly in just small places that could be the deepest part of the hair. And then I have 3 different browns that I'm going over this with. You don't need to use a lot of pencils. It's just that I thought it was fun to work this way. And as you see, with the next to a darkest brown, I'm going over everywhere except my highlights, and then I'm taking the lightest color and coloring over the highlights to take them from warm gray to a more of a warmer brown. On the red parts, I'm actually using white as my highlight, and then I'm just going in with some different red pencils to deepen the shadows, and then just adding some color to blend it out. I'm actually using, I think I'm only using 3 reds because I couldn't really find a good kind of light coral red, so instead I just took a little darker coral red and just painted right over the white. Then I wanted her to have golden jewelry, and I'm using a Posca pen, which I kind of just push some ink out onto my acrylic block, take a fine tip pencil. This is from the Ranger brush. It's not a pencil, it's a brush from the Ranger brush set, and then I'm just taking that color and adding to the pieces I wanted to be gold. And also I'm doing something in a different order. I'm actually cutting out the holes first, because it's actually easier than doing it after I cut it out the image with the scissors. Then I use my trimmers to get a 90-degree angle in the corner, as she's kind of a corner character. And then to finish it off, I'm using my Cutter Bee scissors to cut her out, giving the same kind of width of the white line as I gave at the little holes that I cut out with my knife. For my bottom layering piece, I'm using some Simon Says Stamp Schoolhouse Red. I'm cutting it to 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. On top of that, I'm going to have this red coral pink kind of paper, which I cut to 4 by 5 1/4. So it has that red matte showing through. And then also in the Schoolhouse Red, I have cut out a little Talk Bubble from the Talk Bubble 2 sets by Simon Says Stamp, and I'm using the coordinating stamp set to add that dreaming stamp, which is a kind of a cute little love stamp. I used my powder tool to remove all static and oils, and then the Versamark to stamp the sentiment. Also using the Ranger gold embossing powder. This is a fine gold embossing powder, and it actually works really good with that foil on the hearts. And after I have heat set it with my heat tool, I'm using a baby wipe to remove all of that dust. It's just a dry baby wipe, but it works really good. For the card base, I'm using some Marshmallow by Basil, and I have cut that in half at 5.5, and then I scored it at 4.25 to make a standard A2 card base. For my tape, I'm using some Crafters Companion tape runner, which actually has pretty much tape runner in it. I think it's almost 2 rolls of the 3M tape runner, that big thing. So it's actually a lot of tape you get for a very affordable price. And then I use some 3M Scotch foam tape on the back of this little character, and also back on the talk bubble, to give it a little bit dimension and a natural shade to make it kind of stand out a little bit from that pattern paper. And then I'm again using the same tape runner to adhere the card front to the card base, and that is the card for today. I hope you liked it, and thank you so much for watching. And if you liked it, please thumbs it up. If you have any questions, just comment down below. Down below you can find all the details of the card and the link to the blog hop, so come and hop with us. Thank you again, and I'll see you later. Bye!